Hello, and welcome back to the Design Plus podcast, where we get vulnerable, dig deep, spill the beans or the tea about all things work, career, designing your ideal lifestyle, and living an unboxed life as a creative, individualist, free spirit type person. I'm your host, career guide, and fellow rebel, Miriam Raquel Sands, Raquel for short. Let's talk about emotions. For those of you who are into astrology and esoteric mysticism, spirituality, things that can't be defined, and I'm not talking about religion, that's a whole other thing, because in my mind, the way I see it is religion tries to box and structure belief and faith and the mystery and things that can't be defined with books and texts that have been translated and interpreted and modernized throughout history. But esotericism, mysticism can go all sorts of ways. It can be meshed and combined, and like a salad, you can have strawberry with spinach, or you can have a spicy with the sour. I don't know. So we're talking about emotions, and for those of you who like astrology, which was where I got sidetracked with my whole mysticism and not religion, for those of you who know the sun, moon, rising signs and all of that, I have a lot of Cancer, which is the crab, which is kind of mother archetype, mama bear, a lot of this energy in my chart. And so I'm very familiar with emotions, is long story short. I feel like emotions are the I don't know if underused, but they get a bad rep. Being emotional, being moody. They get all sorts of, or maybe in the past, I don't know, nowadays with, thankfully, mental health and a lot of things getting more standardized and okay. So emotions are huge because emotions are those indicators. They're that pulse. They show us what maybe logically, mentally, consciously we don't want to recognize ourselves. They are truth tellers, and although it's not always the best to trust what we're saying when we're angry or when we're sad, the emotion itself is truth. The feeling, the hurt, the whatever it is, that sensation is that kind of instinctual, intuitive energy. So when, for example, you're in a job, you're in a work environment that feels off, you walk into the office or your cubicle or whatever it is, and you're already feeling like something is not right. You already feel uncomfortable, tired. You've just started and already you feel like, oh my God, when can I go home? That's a valid emotion. When you feel nervous to talk to someone, your manager, your colleague, you feel already this anxiousness, this kind of buildup, tension. That's a valid emotion. That's truth speaking to you through your feelings. So what I want to talk about in regards to emotion today is how this quote, this advice people tend to say, leave your emotions at the door when in the office, when at work. Try to separate the personal and the professional. That all, again, sounds good in theory. Isn't it amazing how people use a lot of theories and cliches and things that sound good, that logically make sense, but that's not real. It's not how people work. It's not how things really get done. Of course, we're going to bring our emotions into the workplace. because we're human beings. You know, even the word human being, we are being human. If we lose that sense of being, if we lose that sense of humanness, then what are we? AI? Robots? Inanimate objects? Even in native indigenous cultures, plants and animals and everything is its own being, the four-legged, the two-legged, the root structures, like all of these other lives, these ways of being have in existence, have a sense of, I don't want to say emotion because I'm not a scientist or I haven't studied all those fields, but they all have life. They all have ways of being. And so our way of being is through our emotions. If we don't feel, if we are not really understanding our psyche and the way in which we're understanding our world, if we're not in tune and aware, how are we going to get the job done? How are we going to live our best lives? How are we going to do any of the things that society wants us to be doing? So it's impossible, literally impossible, to just leave our emotions at the door, to separate personal and professional, because we're always people. Now, I get that at work we show up differently, so other emotions and another persona turns on than when we're with that's a tongue twister, when we're with our friends or family or by ourselves. Of course, we have different masks. Or if we don't like the word masks, we have different clothes that we put on. We show up differently in different areas of our lives, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean that the way that we show up doesn't take away all the other selves, all of our other clothes and all of our other traits and qualities that we still have stored in the closet or that we carry with us in our backpack. So it's not possible. How are we supposed to leave the emotions or the personal at the door? We want to be treated as people. We want to have personal or at least human-like interactions with people at work. And I saw this interesting post on LinkedIn the other day about how not all people want to have kind of work office families and a work office husband or wife or partner. And that makes sense because some people really are good and really are able to divide and create that boundary, that delineation. This is work. I don't have to talk to these people after hours. And some people don't. And though that's valid, both experiences and ways of interacting with life and creating that structure is valid. But ultimately, even with that approach of I don't have to create a personal relationship with these people. It doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't help me get the job done. There's still a way to be kind, courteous, maybe a level of genuineness that is there at work in the office. So I would say that these emotions, our kind of thermostat of checking what's going on, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, is the situation hot or cold, what feels right to me with these people, with this work environment. Emotions are so important in guiding us. And also, if we are one of those people, if you're one of those people that are able to separate the personal from the professional, you are able to more easily detach or distinguish, dissociate, differentiate what's going on at work with the person that you're speaking to. Because sometimes, maybe most of the time, whenever there are meetings, whenever there's conflict at work, there's something behind the scenes going on. Maybe you're not in the room with the people who are the decision makers, with the manager, with your other colleagues, and you should be in that room. So a lot of the conversations you start to hear is like playing telephone. It's what he said, she said, they said, and who's right. And it gets really hard to detangle and figure things out. And so when there's a meeting about a work assignment that gets tense, that gets uncomfortable, because there's a lot of things not being said, the emotions, that thermometer, that kind of detector. Okay, is this about the person? Or is this because something is not being clear and transparent? And then you can dig even deeper. You can say, okay, I've noticed that this person isn't the best communicator, isn't vulnerable, isn't able to be transparent and clear with me. How can I work with this person, whether I want it to be on a personal note, on a professional note, depending how you feel about the individual and the situation at hand? Or if it's really about the work, how can you then not detach from your feelings, but by acknowledging your feelings, say, okay, this is not an attack against me. This has nothing to do with me as a worker. This is a clear miscommunication, or there's a hiccup somewhere, and I'm just now finding out about it. So how can I then protect myself, prepare myself, so that things are then set in place, so that I am not struggling or feeling uncomfortable, and even giving your future self support. So there's a lot of different ways that emotions come into play, because we're feeling every day. Even we're not logically like, okay, in this moment, I feel sad or mad or upset. But that is literally, quite literally, what is happening every moment. When you drink something, your taste buds and your mouth and everything, either it gets burnt, it's too hot, or something is spicy. Your saliva glands are sending signals to your brain. When you touch someone, you're getting feelings about how they are. When you are in an environment and there's a lot of people around you, I mean, we're constantly picking up. Our emotional sensors, antennas, are constantly picking up the energies and different feelings and sensations all around you, all around us, all the time. So it's really, really cool, really important, really incredible to some extent that our bodies, our minds, hearts, spirits, like our whole body unit as a whole has these sensors that are invisible to the eye, but that are constantly with us and constantly can guide us. So next time you hear this expression, this saying, or if someone's giving you this advice, if you've given yourself this advice, leave the emotions at the door, separate the personal from the professional, start to think about what that means to you and how you can either lean in towards that, whether it helps you navigate your emotions, use your emotions in a different way at work, if you're less personable or share less about yourself to others at work, or whether you lean in the other direction and you get to know people more by being more vulnerable, being more transparent. You're then able to possibly create different types of relationships, different levels of transparency and honesty, trust, respect, all of these wonderful things that we look for in a job. when you lean in the other direction with your emotions. So a few tips, a few strategies that have helped me is checking in with myself. I like to do what's called walk and talks, which is basically how I make these podcasts. I turn on my recorder and I talk to you all. But when I walk and talk, I don't record. I talk to myself. People can think of it as prayer or therapy, except you don't have a licensed therapist with you. But you are giving yourself the space, the opportunity to vocalize, to not contain. Because sometimes with journaling, although I also am a fan of journaling, and that would be another tip, if you're more into typing and writing with pen and paper, I like walk and talking because you just say whatever's on your mind. You don't have to find the words and take the time to write it out. You just say whatever it is in a safe space, whether you want to talk to a friend about it, but 5 minutes, or don't even put time on it. Just put some random calendar meeting alarm event thing, and once a week, just check in with yourself. What's coming to mind? What's something that you just need to say to yourself? Some frustrating thing, some exciting thing, just anything. And if not the talking, then my second tip would be the journaling. And I really love this book called The Artist's Way. And this book is all about different exercises to get more in touch with our artistic, intuitive kind of flow state. And one of the recommendations is to have morning pages, ritual or activity in the morning. So the author of the book recommends to the first thing you do before you get up, before you check your phone, like literally you've opened your eyes and you get out your notebook and pen or pencil and you just write. It could be the most random things. I've done this practice now going on half a year, maybe 6-7 months. And sometimes I don't even know what the heck I'm talking about or I'm writing about. I'm surprised when I read it back. I'm like, what was I thinking? I wasn't. I just let my unconscious, subconscious, like all of those things that are just below the surface, I just let them come out and express themselves. So that would be a specific journaling exercise if you like journaling. The third one, which is, I guess, kind of like the walk and talk, but if you wanted to confide in someone and you wanted to just have someone listen to you and support you in that way, that would be another one. Or if the next tip would be, if you're into moving your body and you feel like you have excess energy and you need to settle your body, settle your mind before you get into any kind of emotional breakthrough or expressing of your emotions, I would recommend a walking practice. Just walking around, taking a hike, some sort of movement like yoga, Pilates, something gentle, or like something that gets you into a steady state, a flow state, like running, walking, because once you get weights and all these other things involved, then you have to do more thinking. And a lot of my recommendations are to not think, to be in tune with your emotions, to let your emotions feel safe and come out. As I said, as a Cancer in the zodiac, in astrology, and a lot of different signs, in my sun, in my Venus, and Mercury, I feel very familiar with getting in touch with my feelings and creating a cozy, creating a safe, creating a cradle for them to come out and say whatever it is they need to say. So even if the walk and talk, the journaling, talking to someone, just walking in general, doing hiking and running, and even if none of that works, if you can explore and find a way once a week where you don't have to think, where you can sit in the bath, or I'm still trying to, I guess, come up with other ideas, meditate, stare at a flame, don't get too close, but something where you can just settle in and you don't have to push too much. You don't have to confine yourself, structure too much. This is really about creating comfort and something where it's so easy, you don't have to think about it. You can just pick up the paintbrush and paint and express your feelings. You can write it down, talk it out. That's kind of the main point. Because once you express, then you have access, you've tapped into that, and it starts to develop muscle memory. If you start creating a habit of that once a week for however long you can, or you have time to, accessibility to. And then as more you get into this emotional practice of vocalizing or expressing what you're feeling, then it gets easier to take steps, take action, to start to have compassion and even more love and care and tenderness towards yourself. And especially at work, that can be so hard and heavy and difficult. Releasing the emotions, giving way to that sense of freedom is so important. So I will leave you with that, those suggestions, recommendations, practices. I have a membership, a shameless plug. I have a membership where if you're interested, you can work with me once a month, and I can be that support. I am not a licensed therapist. I am a professional rebel and job hopper, career guide. I'm a women's health coach. So those are logically my certifications and things like that. But one of the services I offer is this membership where I am literally there for you, to listen, for you to confide in, as a friend, as a guide, as someone who has your back in your career and lifestyle design, your business. And as you start to express and you start to have this consistency, we create between the two of us a plan for you. What are the logical or logistical things that you need in terms of changing jobs? I do resume editing, LinkedIn profile updates, create a website portfolio for you. That's all part of the membership. Or more of the kind of wellness aspect for your whole health, whether it is spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. All of this we can start to cover in the membership, depending on what you need, what you want, what you're feeling. So that's another support I offer if you're interested in working with me or finding a way to have support that's cost effective and helps you start to connect with yourself, feel that you can talk to someone who has your best interest at heart and understands what it feels like to feel all the things and need someone to talk to, need someone to support, to guide, to see the whole picture. So thank you for your time, for listening to me. Take care of your emotions, take care of your whole self. And until next time, bye. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening. If you liked what you heard and would like to get more insight or support from me, check out my website at miriamraquelsands.com. You can also find me in all of the social places at my handle at miriamraquelsands, or leave a comment down below. Until next time, take a breath, take it easy, love yourself, hug yourself, and be well. Bye.